to part 2 of the Sunday Soul Search. When we say part 2, it is obviously episode 2. It is episode 2 of our new podcast, the Sunday Soul Search, but it's part 2 because we are going to do the first 2 episodes in a slightly smaller format, and it's a little bit of a follow-up. That's correct. So I am Jane Morton.
And I am Polly Harnett.
And thank you for listening to us, or whatever else you may be doing when we put this out. So we ended our last show with talking about mediums. Strange that, as we are one. But we were talking about ones that we quite like to meet in the, not in the afterlife, because we want to stay here for a bit longer, don't we, really?
Absolutely.
But ones that we'd like to bring back if we could and sit on the bench and ask us some questions. So we were talking about that, weren't we? And then we thought, we sort of got involved about the Witchcraft Act and how much people still, as much as they like to see a psychic or a medium and go to demonstrations to talk to their loved ones, there's still a lot of people out there quite anti and still don't take it seriously or think we're silly or think that we just make it up, which we do not. And we were saying how much things have evolved in the world, especially with the Witchcraft Act being abolished, which we checked, didn't we?
It says
1951, but I know it was amended in 2002.
Was it?
Yeah, only because I was doing something on it once. I'm sure that, anyway, anyone wants to fact check that and prove us wrong, feel free. But to think that people are being burnt at the stake, probably us in a previous, and being tied to tables and starved to death and tortured, and some really weird torturing, because I've seen that in Scotland when I went to the torture chambers for witches. And that dates back to what, 13th, 14th and 15th century was a little bit of a hot period for that, killing witches then. It is weird that it took to the 1950s to do something about the Act.
Yeah, I don't think we were quite burnt at the stake, were we? You know, of the Witchcraft Act being abolished. I don't know. How did they deal with them? Just shove them in prison?
Well, yeah, in the 1950s they wouldn't have burnt you, but they were still hanging people.
Ouch.
Yeah, so come on. If they could prove, they'd still hang you.
So we were talking about, oops, I just kicked myself, when we were just in between, just, you know, chatting, and we were talking about how some people find it quite hard today, sort of feeling accepted as a medium. I guess, I mean, as in being accepted, I'm absolutely proud of what I do and who I am. So, well, my mother was very natural medium and natural psychic. She knew what I was doing before I did it. Hence the reason I got caught for everything I did, which was really not great as a teenager.
That's what my kids say. I take kids because they're all grown up and they say that.
Yeah, and again, it followed me and my kids, and I knew when they were lying, and, you know, they could be very convincing. Kids are. But, you know, they didn't lie all the time. I've got one child who couldn't lie to save their life, and I've got one that would lie repeatedly. But I always knew, and it's like that gut feeling, that knowing, that sort of thing, isn't it? But I've been always very accepting of it. I think I went through a period of rebelling against it.
I definitely did, but I had no one to support me.
And no, I think it wasn't necessarily the support. I think I just wanted to be a rebellious teenager, but then it just kept coming back. Then I was like, decided to like look at spiritualist churches and go in there. And there was a lovely one on Hayling Island where I lived, where it's my first spiritual church I went to. But they weren't SMU, they were very open, and they did have a myriad of different sorts of mediums come in. So it was quite interesting to watch, really. My first real exposure before then going to see other mediums and then deciding that I was going to be a tarot card reader or an oracle card reader. And then just the mediumship just came through by itself. Well, it was already there. I was already evolved enough to do it, I guess. But there's quite a few people, isn't there, that around perhaps that maybe feel that they are going to be judged or can't do it.
Well, I did. I remember when I first started this journey, late in life, eventually, after ignoring it for most of it, I was still working a full-time job for one of the biggest establishments in Portsmouth, in what would be seen as a lefty establishment. I was a lefty because I worked in education, but I was I had a bit of a rep in the business in that job, because obviously it wasn't an easy job. And then I was reading tarot for friends and family in the evening and like practicing, and I was like dipping in and out, because I thought, how can I be this business person in the daytime doing meetings and stuff, and then doing my fluffy woo-woo stuff? So I struggled the transition to even tell people, because also it wouldn't have looked good for the day job.
And we know other people as well that have been in a similar situation. have had corporate jobs, what have you, or even jobs in education, jobs where, you know, really they don't want you to be dipping into things
what
like
I
that.
find fascinating is someone told me a few months back, I think we were at an event, and the university that I actually work at now does a psychic course.
Really?
I can't remember what it's called now, and I went like that. I went, really? And it is based on psychic stuff, and it is on to do with how the psychic works. But it is as I know, because I also studied at uni. There's some psychology into it. There's some science based in it, and yes, there's the natural ability that we're all born with. But there is a bit of science behind it. As you know, some of the things I can do have a science-based way, because they were used in the army, in the navy, and stuff like that. But it's interesting to think that an education establishment, and not a school, a university, has actually put a course together. I mean, I'm sure she did it with Portsmouth, so I'm going to say it is, but I remember Googling it and thinking, oh my, you can do a degree.
I know we're not talking about necessarily all psychic stuff, but let's say practices have been more accepted. I mean, even in corporate worlds at the moment, there's people going in to do meditations with, you know, for stress, mindfulness, which all comes under a holistic umbrella.
After yoga. To be fair, actually, when I worked at the establishment, and I've been out about, I think, 8-9 years.
I'd love to do that though, wouldn't you? I just laugh. Well,
it's good for the soul, isn't it? They say if you laugh, it brings up your vibration, it brings up, and it stops you getting into that low mood. That's why they encourage it. But I remember we used to do an annual conference. I was part of the committee, and I used to work on the conference every year for the staff. And that was the support staff, not the academics, because they had their own conference. But we brought in someone, and they'd wrote books, and it was called My Brilliant Life. I've still got the book, and it shows you how you can flip anything around and make it positive, which, you know, for me, I do that quite a lot, because my life is, I don't think I can write a book about my brilliant life, because I think I'd have to cross the brilliant.
My complicated life.
My complicated roller coaster, really hard life that still makes me laugh and can help other people. That's a bit of a long mouthful, so I won't write a book. But I remember them coming in, and that's over 10 years ago, and getting people, because obviously jobs are stressful, and people get stressed, and people worry about their job, and they worry about if they've done something right, or they worry that someone might come in and take their job. The whole stress, and it doesn't matter if it's corporate or not, any job. Absolutely. People stress themselves out or think, oh, I can't leave that because only I can do it. That was actually one of my failings when I was younger. I thought only I could do it because no one could do it as well as me. And we all know we are irreplaceable.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it was good to see that was coming into education, but it's taken a lot longer to come into schools.
Absolutely. But there are some schools that will do like meditation, mindfulness type things, especially in the morning. I mean, the children at schools these days, and I think there's a lot wrong with systems at the moment, a lot wrong with the educational system, totally under-resourced. And the pressures of children at school is unreal. I mean, like doing in year 2 in England, just in case anyone's watching from other countries, year 2, they're probably about, 7, 8, 7?
No, because been a long time since
about 7ish, let's say 7ish. They're doing something called SATs.
Yeah.
I totally I used to work in the school system with, I've worked in primary and I've worked in secondary, and the amount of stress on those children, and all it is for government statistics, and you know, it's made into this big thing, and you think, Jesus Christ, these children, these poor kids, there's pressure. Some kids aren't going to be academic, and I wish that everyone was a little bit more.
But again, I mean, we're going off slightly topic here. Yeah. We could do a whole episode on education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Working in an education establishment for over 20 years, I know it is only about the statistics, because it's only about the record tables for that establishment. Yeah. They are not interested. And that sounds awful. And I know there's people probably screaming now going, I'm a teacher, that's not true. And I've got friends that are teachers.
Oh, amazing teachers.
But they're under massive pressure now to meet targets, and that takes enjoyment out of the job. Yeah. And what happened to the child enjoying school? I love school. And the younger. My attitude towards education now has massively changed. Massively changed. Even how I forced my own children. Much into school, but they had to go to college before that became actually law anyway. When my youngest had to go to college, that was part of the new system. But I made the other two go to college. I said, you can do it like after college, but you just get a bit more education. And I look back now and think it has paid in some ways, but not in others, because they're all different. But actually, it's all about your get up and go. It's all about your focus. It's all about what you want to do. Because I've retrained as an adult in education, but I've also retrained as an adult in a whole new way of life in my holistic therapy.
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed that more because I wanted to do it and I enjoyed it, not because I thought it would be good for my job at the time. So, but yeah, we can do that on another day because we will go off on tangents. We go off on tangents, so you'll probably get all confused and you'd have to keep cutting and pasting and wonder which episode we're on.
So yeah, well, going back to the actual what we were about to talk about is how hard it can be to, as even like a new psychical medium to the scene, let's say, because I mean somebody might have been practicing in certain ways for many years and not gone public and not gone out there in a professional way, but it is, I think, quite difficult because there's many factors to it. I mean, so many people have been conditioned to thinking that they're not good enough and that they're not worthy, and like we said in the previous episode about people that go online and comment, bully. Also, you get those people that big certain people up, you know what I mean? And let's say I've seen people go out there and then literally there've been other people having a go at them. You've only been training for this, you've only been training for that. How do you know what they haven't done before? Do you know what I mean? If they are confident and if they have got the right attitude and intention, that's what matters. A lot of people, new people, wouldn't profess to be the best at this and the best at that, or the best at the other. They're going out there as, let's say, honest people who have got a passion, who want to share their passion. And even if they're starting at the very beginning, I started at the beginning at some point, you started at the beginning at some point.
I started at the beginning.
No. But I think it depends where you're going. There's new elements that we do that we're newer at.
I think also it depends how long you've suppressed it. Because although I do feel a decade, it's been nearly a decade of running my own business, training as a holistic therapist. So a decade sounds long to some people, but actually a decade is not a long time. It's a whole new career change. And it's a decade of me having to finally understand why I used to see, I called it then, dead people when I was only 5 or 6. Why I always had a sense of people, why I always knew someone was lying to me. Never quite worked that out with my ex-husband straight away, but hey ho, you're a bit ignorant there. But I have a great sense around people, whether I know them or not, when they are literally not telling me the truth. Like you said, our children, I always have worked my children out quite quickly. But I had to program myself to understand that all that was part of my psychic ability, and I'd been suppressing it because I had no one to talk to about it. It was very reclusive back when I was younger in the circle I was in my family environment, despite the fact that my actual adopted nan went to the spiritualist church and my mum forgot to tell me that bit. It's refreshing now when my mum tells me, oh yeah, I remember that, when I ask her questions now to check I haven't just got this memory thing that it's not real. I've had to sort of check again. And now she finally at 83 will tell me, oh yeah, you did do that. Oh yeah, you did say that. So that's nice for me to get the clarification. But this decade has been about understanding my abilities, finally accepting them. Like I said, stepping out of my comfort zone at work and actually eventually leaving work and realising I had other things that I was destined to do. But also understanding me and understanding what my strengths were in those abilities and only staying with that. Like you mentioned earlier, not getting too OTT and thinking I've got to do everything because I've got to be the best at it, because I'm not the best at it, but knowing where I'm strong and working with that.
Yeah, I mean, if I watch other mediums, there's bits of mediums and the way they work that I like, but there's bits of that I don't like. And there's sometimes when, people are raving on about somebody and then I go and watch them and think, oh, they're doing a lot of tricks. For example.
They get it's trick or treat time.
If you are observant, you would know what I'm talking about. But I don't think any medium I've seen, like one might be great at names or places, for example.
That'd be
but not the message. One person might be amazing at the message, get enough evidence about a spirit loved one to make it that it's them, but the message could be phenomenal, right? I know personally that I just want to know, for example, if somebody came through, I want to know it's them enough that it's them. I want to know why they're there. Like, not just like...
I know, and I think this, and obviously you mentioned SNU earlier, and a lot of people might not know what the SNU is, which is this, the
Spiritualist.
There's a Spiritualist National Union.
Yeah, something like that.
Which straight away the word union throws me right out, because I used to have a union. I was actually asked to be a union rep when I worked in the corporate world. So to me, a union doesn't really resonate with me anyway, because it's a bit of a control mechanism.
Well, we've basically talked about this on more than one occasion between us. We aren't fans, but if you are a fan, you know,
that's fine. That's great.
Fine too. Only because as a medium, if I'm going to go out and do a mediumship demonstration, or if I'm going to do a one-to-one reading for somebody, everything that comes out of my mouth from spirit is a message for them. Now, if there is some information that might be future, or might be about a baby, or might be about health, or might be about the future, I honestly don't want to be restricted, and it's important to me that I'm not restricted. I know that I give everything in love. I know that I'm not a negative reader. I'm not, one of those people that's going to give you doom and gloom. However, if you ask me a question for them, or for my guides, or for the cards, and I will tell you the answer. I will tell you what I get. I will tell you what I feel. I'll tell you what I get from them. But it is quite restricted.
It is restricted. And also, I find it weird. It's just an ignorance on my part, because I have no interest in it. And not like you, I've been to a spiritualist church. I went to one years ago. I can't say, if anything, I was worried they was going to pick me out because I wasn't doing what I was doing. So I was thinking, don't pick me out in front of all these people, because I hated being centre of attention. And here I am doing demos and podcasts and TV shows. But anyway, no trance demonstration. Who said I hated being centre? But I did. I grew up wanting to be in the background. It suited me. And that, again, was probably dealing with my spiritual path. I don't get this that keeps being bandied around. And we've got some great friends in this business that are SNU, or follow that SNU way of life, or a church way of life. And so, but I still don't get it, and I've said it to them. What is this? They gave good evidence because they brought out the person and showed that they were passed.
Well, an evidential medium to me is somebody that just gives evidence of
how they passed,
the
when
Bible
they
and
passed,
the spirit
and that
world.
they actually are up there. But this to me is a thin line. Because whatever your style of mediumship is, and like you said, we've both, I don't think I'm brilliant. I don't go out there thinking I'm the bee's knees. You know that. But I get good feedback, and that I'm happy that people are happy with that. But I'm quite happy to pack my little shoes off when we finish and disappear out the back. You know I am not out there for anything else. And it's nice to get good feedback. Of course it is. We're human, we like that, but I don't get upset if I don't, and I don't get upset really if anyone criticises me either, even when they don't take it. But evidence to me, well, they've already passed, so we know they've passed. So when we're bringing through Johnny, Danny, these are just philosophical names. I'm not thinking I'm bringing anyone through as I'm talking, or I've got your mummy or your dad here. If that person's already said, yeah, my mum's passed, and we start giving information about them, that's evidence to me.
Well,
whether I've hit the name or not, and I can hit the names.
Basically, when we read differently, but we've got the same morals, and that's what's important. That's why we work well together. But Jane can literally be taken to somebody's front room in 1977. You know what I mean?
Say reported by Dr.
And say, yes, okay, you might say that's psychic,
but I tell people I'm a psychic medium.
But that's it. That's it. Who cares? But even those people that are bringing through, I don't know, they lived on, Green Lane, just for example. Why is that any different, them focusing in on Green Lane? Because that's where they lived, because they probably saw a sign saying Green Lane.
Where did you get Green Lane from? How weird, because my friend in America lived in Green Lane, and then Joy Lane.
All right.
And she passed several years ago, sadly, during COVID, but her husband passed a little while back, and now actually a really good friend of theirs that I absolutely loved, and he was really good to my children. I used to take my older children over when they were younger. He just passed a few days ago. So, and you've just come out. See, this is how good a psychic we are.
See,
you've just brought out a connection to my friends in Florida. Excuse me.
It happens all the time. I do that when I'm doing if I'm doing a workshop with we're teachers, and you say, oh, so let's just say you're moving house, in 3 months' time. Well, I am. Oh, okay. So we obviously got the message and went to them for that reason. But what we have got off.
We were saying about evidential. I get why there's rules with the SNU, because that's how they like it. But we're not rule breakers. We're mediums.
We're mediums.
I get that people in the SNU do these courses and get all this status shit for being a medium. And again, we've got friends that done it and love them. But how can you have a certificate to prove you're a medium? How can I have a certificate to prove I'm a psychic? it's still seen as entertainment, whatever you put in front of it, whether it's right or not. And that is the one certificate that no one can offer with any credibility. So it's weird.
I don't feel my work is for entertainment purposes.
No, nor do
However,
I. Yeah.
I'll throw in a
Far
bit of
from
entertainment.
it. We love a bit of entertainment. But that's what I'm saying. You can't go, I've got a certificate to prove I'm a medium.
And I don't feel like anybody with a certificate is any better than you or I.
And I do get that there's an air of, we know, trance. You have been trancing for absolutely years. I've only been trancing for a few years. I still see myself as the novice because I'm growing. I call myself the understudy when I'm with you. But I also know you have to sit more and more in that trance to understand your guide and work with your guide and accept that. And if I'm not putting the effort in, that's down to me. And the same with mediumship. You can't just go, oh, of course you can, because we do it. We give out a message because they're there, giving us, pestering us. You need to put the work in and the commitment and clear your headspace and make sure you're giving out good messages, not half-bitty ones that they've got put together, even though they don't make it easy for us people. I will say that.
It's not like being on a telephone key.
So it is like any job. You've got to put an amount of effort in, but it's not like I'm going to be, I'm a medium and I'm on a level 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm now a level 6 because I'm such a good medium. You're a medium.
Yeah, you're a medium. Yeah. You're a medium. And as long as, like you said earlier on in the conversation, as long as you're going out there with basically integrity, with love, kindness, and obviously you've got to have like personal responsibility because, you know, whatever you might say to that person that is sat in front of you or in that crowd, you know, you've got to remember, are you going to be the one that helps them heal or shows them some hope, or are you going to be the one that tips them over the edge? And basically you've got to take like a huge personal responsibility for what you're doing. Which is probably why the old rules, which come from the SNU, because they certainly don't come from us, don't talk about finance, house, one. To me, it's like, what's left to talk about? Because I don't come for a reason to speak to me then, because obviously in readings, you're going to want to know about your job, your career, you want to know about your partner, or are you going to meet a partner, what baby, you know, if you're going to have a baby, you're not going to have a baby. That in itself, I think, well, that sort of restricts my readings. And then there's in the mediumship, well, if someone's coming through and they've passed over and they're going to tell me, you need to sort your bank account out, or you need to do this, or they're going to say something about there's a baby coming, which I've actually just done. In the last few days. Said I was healing at the time actually. The father come in of the person I was healing and said there's a baby coming. Well, I knew it wasn't the person I was healing because I knew her background. But 2 days later, she messaged me and went, the baby's come, and it was actually another member of family. So I didn't ask them to pop in. I was healing at the time, but you know, I take what I get. But it's weird how you're not allowed to talk about certain things, but like, for whatever reason, her dad wanted her to know the baby's coming. So why can't we talk about that? And that's why we never work under the place once. And I was getting glares because nobody told me that. And I didn't know. So I started giving messages from a bulldog. I gave this lady. You are an animal communicator. Yeah. As are you. Also, somebody came through and gave it was her husband had come through with their wife who was in the crowd and basically told her to get this situation that was legal sorted out. It was going to be taking a while, but actually then it was all going to get sorted out. And he was telling me it was from his mouth, his mouth. And I gave her the information. She said, what legal thing? I said, about the house. She went, oh yeah, that has dragged on. Anyway, then I got daggers and it was all like a little bit uncomfortable. They said, do you want to stay here? I went, no. I just don't understand it, because like you said, if I go and I'm like you, I don't think I'm outstanding, but we've gone to watch people recently, and because they've had such a good following or recommendation, and we've liked bits of it, but we haven't liked all of it, and I expect people do the same with that. So we're not, we're entitled to our opinion, but there isn't anyone yet. Well, there is. There's one gentleman that we see quite some time back that I really did like, because he was so humble and so evidential, and actually he was with 3 other mediums on the night, and he was the last act. And he was so good. I'm glad he was the last act. He had a nice way. He had a lovely way about him, and he wasn't following any church rules. And also I like the way he just slipped away and went and left the venue afterwards. I thought, that's my kind of medium. I was not saying you want to leg it at the end of the demo. Yeah, no, you won't just done my work and off I go. I don't need any recognition. I can't put my teeth back in. We haven't seen him since, and I know one of our promoters has tried to get him to work with us. Clearly he doesn't want to work with the 2 comedian mediums, and I don't blame him, because he does well on his own. He doesn't need us to backing him up.
But yeah, I wouldn't say no. But he's very much. I liked everything. Everything he said was factual, but everything was cut. It was nice, and he gave beautiful messages, and I really liked it. And no one has topped that since ever. And prior to that, you know, I don't go to many people. I don't go to other people for readings. I very rarely go to other events. We went to these last few events because we were actually supporting somebody else's business. But it's not because I think I'm better. It's just this is what I do, so I don't always need to go and see everybody else because actually sometimes you want a night off and you just go to the picture because that's actually better than an event.
Because I'm so all right about my people being up there because I know that I'm not. I don't want it to hurt when I pass away, but you know I'm not scared. I'll probably be quite ready to go by the time it's my time.
You know, so you know you can connect to and talk to them.
Reading, I only want to see a tarot reader because I want to say, right, this is going to get better.
Yeah, and we know as tarot readers that it's the worst thing reading for yourself because although we can go with our gut and our instincts, our human brain gets in the way when we're trying to make decisions because we are overthinking it. So sometimes we just need another tarot reader to go, do it.
Calm down.
Yeah, or calm down.
Calm down and get on with it.
So tarot reader, for a quick, short answer, mediums, apart from these events, I've never been to a private one-to-one medium.
Have you not?
Not since pre-COVID, and that actually was because you know I wouldn't do my mediumship. I was sitting on the fence with it. It was I acknowledged afterwards it was actually because of the death of my oldest friend and my dad so close together within a year that I couldn't face doing the mediumship because I didn't know what I was going to hear. It's a weird,
sometimes you've got to be emotionally prepared.
And he actually encouraged me out of my mediumship and got me to acknowledge my mediumship because when he first met me, he said, "You're a medium," and I went, "No, I'm not." And then down the line, because I thank him for that. Again, I'm not going to name names. Another medium up north, but I asked for a reading to see what I'd get. And there was bits of it that touched on a lot of ancestry stuff, but actually nothing in the here and now or anything from my recent relatives that could have just helped me along a bit with the lottery numbers.
I'm joking. All the things that would help us. But no, to be honest, maybe we're not destined to be rich, but rich in love.
Yeah, so I thank him for that. But she's spilling her tea everywhere. Good job. I can clip these bits out when we go on the podcast.
No, it's all us.
But yeah, so
darlings.
I've never felt the need to go to a medium because, like you said, why do I need to speak to a medium?
I have back in the past when my mum passed away. I went because I thought she'd be the first in the queue, and she wasn't for 9 years. But when she did eventually come through, she hasn't stopped coming through. So now she'll give me messages through things or vehicles and things like that. It's very strange. I'm not going to say anything.
My friend did that after she passed. I got in the car and Angel Radio come out on my old car. I mean, there probably is a channel called Angel Radio.
It's the 1940s.
Well, my car's always been on Capital Dance because I do like a little rave and I like a little boogie in the car. And it come out Angel Radio and I just stared at it. I thought, you're having a laugh. And then the next time, her phone rang me off my... Because obviously I had hands-free in the car.
What, her phone rang?
Her phone rang me.
Okay, that's a sign.
That was scary. I nearly crashed the car, but I then pulled over and laughed and thought, oh my God, you picked the weirdest ways to come and show me. But I often ask her questions or I talk to her at night if I've got stuff, because she was the person I always went to, her and my dad, and I lost them so close together. And I often ask both of them, and they only talk to me in my sleep.
Probably because you're out of the way then.
Yeah, but probably because they both know I was quite stubborn and I never listened in then, so why would I listen now? But no, I haven't gone to mediums for years. I mean, obviously we give each other messages sometimes, and I have gone to these local events, and I think I did get a message.
You did,
but it made some sense to my ancestors, but not to all. If anything, I question when I'm sat in the audience thinking, what do our public, our people that come to see us, what do they really get out of it? What do they really enjoy about it? Especially the ones that don't get a message. Are they enjoying the way we work? Are they enjoying just listening to other people give messages? Or are people sat there, and anyone that's tuning in that has come to see us, feel free to say it, I don't care. But are they sitting there going, that's rubbish, or that's this? Yeah, what? I've paid £12 or £15 for this. What have I come at? Yeah. Well, if my podcast goes well, you'll be paying more, I can assure you now, jokes.
To be fair, you know, even when we have done demos, and you do get obviously work from demos, if you're doing a charity event, you know, then the people will come, because I always feel like And for myself personally, if there's somebody I haven't seen before, I'd be quite interested to go and see them. You know, if somebody said, oh yeah, they're good, we'll go and see them, let's say I'm going to have a look. But back in the day, perhaps I was more interested because I was developing, like back in the day, and I used to go to quite a few demos, you know what I mean? I'm talking back in the day, because I wanted to see what they did, what they worked like, what they came out with, you know, that sort of thing. It was almost like, okay, this is where I want to be going, so I want to go and, when I say do a bit of research, obviously you're not copying anybody, it's just, but it's good for things like...
It's good for research. I did a lot of research when I started reading.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of, well, not a lot, because they're expensive, bloody psychics. But no, I went to a fair few psychics back, people. Yeah, I went to a fair few, not few, in the beginning. One, to see how people read, because I hadn't even been to a reader in years. I used to go in my teens. And two, I suppose, because I had lost two people. I was going through a transition with my job. And I was fighting for my house because my second ex-husband was trying to take everything from me and his only son. Well, I think it's his only son, but we'll save that for another show. Jokes if he's watching. But yeah, but I had a lot of stress going on. So there was personal stuff that I didn't mind having the answer to, but I was also, this is a great way of researching, because there was a lot of them that I actually thought, well, I won't be reading like that.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And actually on one of them, I was so mortified by how unpleasant she was and how rude and direct she was, especially about telling me when my dad was going to die, because he was still alive at the time. I actually remember going to one of our good friends, Neshla, and saying, I'm not doing this is really dangerous to people, because I was so mortified how she had spoken to me. I did not want to be that person doing that to someone else.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, the personal responsibility. I mean, if you're leaving somebody at the end of the time's up, off you pop, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you're left traumatised without... I mean, I had a client the other day who was very emotional reading, very, very emotional actually, and she shed a good few tears. But every time I was like, right, if you need me to stop, that's fine. If you need to ask me anything, that's fine. Are you okay? Yeah. You know what I mean? Even though there was stuff that needed to come out, it did need to come out, you know, as in emotionally for herself. At no point would I would have let her walk out of the door.
No, I wouldn't either. And
if she was in any sort of upset or distress.
But how many people do we know of? I say know of, so we don't make it sound like we equate with it. That are literally watching the clock to their whatever they're charging for that time span, and then that's it, done, dusted, by off you go. I mean, I'm the world's worst. I do go over if they're upset or they've got stuff going on. I do give a bit more extra, and like you said, there's no way anyone could leave me after reading, even on Zoom, and I would feel that they were not in a better place. We can't make things better, but we can deliver stuff to make them cope better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, and I think that's why I trained as a psychic counsellor. I trained as a counsellor when my eldest was young, and he's 36, many, many years ago, but I had to give up because of bringing up the children on my own. And I knew that I had that counselling ability in me, so I did it as a spiritual counsellor instead. Same sort of training, which surprised me. So I still had to learn the same sort of things about your brain, but I did that, one, to understand why I was a psychic, how am I a psychic, why am I a psychic. Now I'll do psychic counselling, but two, how it's really helped me how I deliver my readings. But also, as you know, most of my stuff I am actually counselling or helping people in the background to deal with situations. So my tarot reading is more on a counselling basis.
Yeah, but I think sometimes mine is, sometimes it's factual, sometimes it's mediumship, sometimes it's a little bit more like that. I mean, some people have said, I feel like I've had a counselling session, but I needed it.
But it was years ago. Go back in history, Egyptian times and stuff like that. The kings and the queens and the pharaohs and all that all used people like us to, I mean, I think there's even one named in the Bible, all use people like us to give them guidance on how to move forward with decisions. If you got it wrong, off with your head. But it was a form of counselling, and somewhere along that line of history and centuries and like lots of things, back in Egyptian time, we know there was lots of skin stuff, a lot of cat, but there was lots of skin stuff, how Cleopatra was meant to have bathed, stuff like that. Things have almost just repeated themselves. They were there anyway, but we've suddenly got them now. So it is a form of counselling. It's just now, as much as more people are more open to say they are one, as in a psychic medium, or people are more open to say, I need to see a psychic medium, and we all know they post it on social media. I don't always think that's the best way to ask, but I get it. Actually, Yale.com, Google, you will find us all.
Yeah.
And one way or the other, I would say I always say recommendations anyway.
But yeah,
it's weird, isn't it? And
is
yet
a funny
still,
one.
there's so much stigma attached to it.
Oh yeah, and we could go on to a whole other part 3.
But we're not
But
going
we're going
to.
to change our clothes before that one.
So, anything you want to end with? Because
there is a bit I wanted to add, but this is a whole other kettle of fish.
As in, like, a whole new kettle of fish.
Really?
So it's not really talking about people. We'll end it on then that if there's still people out there that are worried that are feeling that they have a spiritual way or they are attracted to spiritual stuff, and you don't have to be a psychic medium or a healer or anything else like that to follow a spiritual way of life. And we say spiritual, not spiritualism, because spiritual is your way of life and spiritualism is the religion. But if you are feeling like that and you don't know where to turn, look for local support. Sort of like, well, we run a development group. In Hayling Island,
around there.
Come to that one. Polly's been running it absolutely years, and I came in again understudy when she couldn't. When she couldn't do it, she got me in, and now somehow I've managed running it with her. But anyway, but there's people that have come into that group that have had no one to talk to in their workplace or in their friends because they're intrigued with spiritual stuff. And it's just a way, isn't it, to come in
and be with people.
And actually ask the question that they've been asking in their head, but too scared to say out loud because they think people think they're weird.
So our group are great because we have no judgment, and
they're all so different with different things.
Different things that they need to maybe work on a little bit more, but it's shown them all different directions and different insights and different ways of doing
If you're not local, you can't come to our group. It's exclusive.
But we might start thinking about doing an online.
Well, we might do an online one, but we're not going to keep jumping before we can run, before we can walk, because we've got too many other projects on the way. But there is always somewhere near you, isn't there, that you can go and find somebody that you can talk your spiritual stuff through if you can't talk to your family and friends.
If you are obviously attracted to SNU spiritualist churches, obviously
go to the churches.
We know some lovely people that are attached to spiritual churches, so don't just let our opinion put you.
And I know they offer donation readings, donation healing, so there's still a good outlet for people to go to. It's not just because it's not our way, doesn't mean it's not anyone else's way. But yeah, so that's what the whole of this episode was actually about, really, wasn't it? People, don't be scared to admit if you feel you're drawn to a more spiritual way of life, especially in the way our current world is going. And also, if you want to go and see a reader or a medium, do your research. I think that's important. You do need to do your research. But also, don't expect too much. I think that sometimes people over-expect now and ignore what they are getting. And sometimes they're getting good information, but they're wanting something else and they're ignoring that information. So, find your balance and find your own path and your own way.
And experiment.
Yeah.
If something you're doing at the moment isn't working for you, then look for another teacher, mentor, or, it might be that maybe you're started off wanting to do mediumship and reading, tarot card readings, but actually now you're becoming more drawn to healing. Or, trance mediumship has now taken me and Jane into doing spirit release work, which we will talk about at some point. Everything always adds to everything.
It does, yeah, and it makes me grow. When I was young, I always wanted to do astrology. I was really fascinated with astrology. I had astrology stuff along with my hidden tarot cards when I was 14 because I didn't tell anyone. But you also have you have to say to yourself at some point, yeah, I love all that and that's interesting, and obviously go and listen to people talk about it or workshops, but find your own niche, what you are passionate about, what you're good at, and what actually is going to sit with you.
And if somebody also, just quickly before we finish, I've been in spiritual groups before, development groups myself, obviously back in the day. Some will work for you and some will not. If things that are not working for you or not ringing true to you, or you're feeling, let's say, you have to be somebody's protege and you work nothing like them, it is so important that you own that, you learn from it, you learn all sorts from it, but one teacher shouldn't last you forever anymore.
No.
People have popped into our lives, into our development group, that have done things before, done things in the past. They've found themselves in there for now, but once they're too good, we're going to beat them out.
And also, disagree with them. We like our to disagree with us. We just because you're going there and learning some stuff or find out some information, don't always believe it. Go and do your own research. Go trust your gut. That's what I would say. If it doesn't sound right, don't do it. So on that note,
we'll love you and leave you.
We will, and we will see you on episode 3. Thank you very much, people.
Bye-bye.
Bye.